subscribe, hit that notification button. Don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, and I'm here with
David Piatek. We're live in Tampa. Came together this today and doing an awesome video for you guys, answering all your questions around the VA home loan, VA disability compensation. Just let us know if the mic is working, so at least we know the audio is good.
Yes. This is our first time doing this in person. So who we got? Art, Be Humble. Good evening. Let us know if we got it. Give us a mic check. Can you read us? LC Lima Charlie.
Working good. All right.
Working
awesome.
good. All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, Dave and I, Dave decided to come down from Chicago. Is it snowing up there?
Not yet, but the weather's cooling down.
You didn't get caught on the tarmac in O'Hare, right? It's snow, de-icing the plane.
Well, listen, there's a hurricane coming here.
I know, right?
So I need to leave before the hurricane comes. Otherwise, my wife is not going to be happy that I'm not home for another week.
Yeah, I know, right? But so we're doing this live. So bear with us. We're going to go over a little bit of time. Bear with us. This is the first time we're doing this in person together and live, okay? So we're going to go through and take care of some questions. But before we do that, Dave, you talked about the feds dropped the rates.
Yeah.
And I think I saw something where it was like 4.25% and going down to 4.2% or something to help slow the decline of something so we don't go into recession. Can you explain that?
So a couple things. So the Fed meeting last week, they met and they dropped what's called the Fed funds rate by 0.5%. Basically, what that means is how banks borrow money to each other, right? So in theory, when you can borrow at a cheaper price, you can give more money out, providing more liquidity into the markets, right? So that's kind of the idea. And a lot of people thought that interest rates would then automatically also drop. But the irony is that the opposite happened. Mortgage rates went up, right? And so we did a video about that last week too, and we're just kind of like talking about that correlation and how that piece works, where it's only a small factor for the Fed's fund rate for mortgages. And the reason why you have this correlation is that all mortgage, not to get nerdy, but you need some information on how and why something's working, right?
Right.
So all mortgages most mortgages are backed by mortgage-backed securities. These mortgage-backed securities are sold on the open markets in the form of treasury bonds, right? And we always look at the 10-year treasury bond as an indicator. And historically, when the Fed drops the rates, the Fed funds rate, the stock market does really well. So if I were to ask you, do you want to invest in something that gives you a higher yield or a lower yield? You're going to say you want to make more money.
Right.
So people pull money out of bonds because they're not as attractive. They throw them into the stock market to make more money. So in order to make bonds more attractive, they have to raise rates. Now, a lot of people think like, well, when are we going to get back to the 2.25% interest rates, right? And there's a huge difference on why the rates were so low before, is because the government was buying up these mortgage-backed securities. So they didn't care what the rates were. They were the ones buying it up. Now we're looking at a normal market where institutions are buying these in the billions and trillions of dollars. Or maybe not trillions, but definitely in the billions. They're buying up these for security. Right, so again, to make it more attractive, they need to raise the rates on that. So it's going to be an interesting time moving forward because they've announced that over the next couple of months they plan on raising rates a couple more times. Right, so interesting time to be a homeowner because a lot of people thought that like, man, it dropped to half, rates would drop, mortgage rates would drop. Right.
So break that down. So if I'm purchasing a home, well, I guess really you don't have to. If I'm purchasing a home, like if I purchased a home, say last year, and the rate was at 7%.
Yep.
Now it's at 4.2 whatever.
Well, so that's different. That's the Fed funds rate. So
Okay.
when you talk about the mortgage rates, obviously you can kind of check, because people always ask like, well, what's the interest rate? Well, the problem is like whenever you see an interest rate online, there's like a million disclaimers to go with it, right? And that's kind of the challenge when someone's like, well, what's the interest rate right now, like this second? Well, if you ever look, or just do yourself a favor, just type in 10-year Treasury bonds, you're going to see that it changes all day long, right? And then rates somewhat fluctuate, and sometimes they somewhat stabilize, right? Depending on how significant an event is. And that's one of the things that, you can look at, like, I think of Mortgage News Daily is like what we look at to see, hey, what's trending in rates?
Right.
I think Freddie Mac's PMMS system also kind of trends what rates are, because there's a lot that goes into what the rates are, because lenders have costs, carry costs for originating mortgages. So all that's going to be factored into what that lending institution is going to be providing as far as interest rates. So it changes a lot. And then plus your personal financial situation also largely dictates that. So I think the best thing to do is to really have someone take a look at your financial picture to let you know where you at in the buying process. Obviously, happy to do that. This is why we do these, right? So you guys can schedule an appointment with me in the description down below.
Yep.
And I would say, to your point, because sometimes people will ask that because they want to benchmark on, well, do I even need to talk to him to even see, like, is this an option? I would say, honestly, like, if you have a VA loan, it's over 6.5, it's worth having a conversation to see if it's worth it, right? And when we always look at these two, we'll tell someone like, man, this doesn't make sense. Maybe the cost is too much,
Right.
just because every state's got different fees and stuff like that associated with them. So you really have to be careful with that, and just kind of do your homework when it comes to this stuff, and stop Googling things and stop. Because the problem is people, and that's why we do a lot of this stuff, right?
Right.
It's like you look online, you're like, I can't believe they gave that information about VA disability when it's a bunch, it's incorrect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I see the same thing, and it's like the veterans are like, well, I saw this and I saw that, and I recently, when we do a video on the history of the VA home loan, and now I understand why there's so much confusion with it, because it changed significantly from the time that it was enacted in 1944. Like, it significantly changed it. Like, it was you have to use it within a certain time period, and then they kept extending it. And then depending on your type of service that you were in, you would get it or you wouldn't get it. And then the funding fee then they didn't used to charge a VA funding fee. Then they started charging it, and then it was like a whole thing. But you guys stay tuned for the video. But yeah, there's just so
Say
much
it's
stuff
coming,
that
huh?
goes. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Let's
All right,
go.
Let's go ahead and get into some questions
Yeah.
here. Okay, so Justin says, what are the points you should hit when filing for an increase? For example, sleep apnea. Should you tell the VA that the CPAP machine completely solves your sleep apnea issue, or word it differently? Okay. The first thing, Justin, is you have to figure out what percentage you're currently service connected at. So if you're at 10% for something, and vets get this wrong, especially when it comes to joints.
Okay.
So if you're 10% for, let's say, thoracolumbar strain, a back, they'll say, Dwayne, I'm having more pain. I'm taking these injections. I'm going to the chiropractor. None of that is in the 20%.
Right.
The 20% is how far can you bend forward? That's it. So whatever condition you're looking to do an increase for, make sure you know what the current criteria for the current percentage you're service connected at, and the criteria for the next higher percentage. And you can find that in the rating decision. A lot of people, they don't look at the rating decision. They'll say, oh, I got this 80%. I got $20,000 in back pay. We're all going to Sizzlers. And they never read the rating decision, because in the rating decision, raters have to tell you why they granted you that percentage and why you didn't warrant the next higher percentage. So when you know what that criteria is for the next higher, then either okay, I meet it or I don't meet it. If you don't meet it, don't do the increase.
So what's that document? I know that you shared it with me a long time ago. It was that one that basically outlines,
Disability breakdown letter.
well, not the letter, but
Rating code sheet.
well, yeah, that tells you if you said mild, you get a 20. If you said
Oh,
you know
the
what I'm
rating
talking-
scheduler.
The scheduler, like that, literally everything
That's
is
the
in
Bible.
there.
That's the
Yeah,
Bible.
It's the Bible, right? Everything is in there because, yeah, you say mild or moderate, it's two different ratings.
Right,
And then
right.
because people will bring up, well, because the funny thing is that, listen, I'm into mortgages, but I've been doing this with Dwayne so long that people ask me questions all the time online, or like when I talk to them, and I'm like, wait a second, you should be doing this and this with your disability just because we've been doing this so long.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
that's what, like, to your point, people say they may say these things are happening, but they're not relevant to the actual disability itself.
Exactly.
And then you just run into problems because you're saying all these things, they're noting it down, and then you're not getting rated for it. And then so that's why there's only certain things they look for, and that's why that DBQ is so important.
Exactly.
I'll stay back in I'll be back in my lane.
But that's it. And I have the rating scheduler on my shelf at home.
Yeah.
And one guy came on. He's like, "Oh, man, that's the rating Bible." I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where all the information is at."
That's funny.
okay. Got my decision letter. Service connection for knee problem, left and right, back problems, neck, all denied, stating nothing at STR. I was in a motor vehicle accident, and it notes injuries. Advice. One thing when it comes, I was telling somebody about this today. The VA is getting really bad. The training is not what it used to be when I went through. It's different. COVID hit. They were doing a lot of training online, and you can do training online, but not this training. You need to have 2 or 3 days in the office where you're interacting with that trainer, asking questions. What about this? What about that? It's a lot of distractions at home. So one thing that Atlanta Regional Office, and I'll just go ahead and put them out there on blast, they ranked in the top 3, in my opinion, the worst regional offices in the country. They don't see it. And so that's why it's always good to have a copy of your claims folder. So when Atlanta say, "Oh, we don't see your flat feet in your medical records and your STR, service treatment records." Okay, send me a copy of what you're looking at. There it is. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. They miss it. So, Richard, if you haven't got a copy of your service treatment records, you need to, because that's definitely important. It's not what we say, it's what we can prove.
It's like in the military, they tell you to keep a I Love Me book, right? All the things that you go through, right? All the awards, everything, so you have everything lined up. So
yeah. And so everyone, bear with us. I'm on the laptop over here. We're going through. Again, this is the first time we're doing this in person.
Yep.
Feels a little bit different, right?
It is. I like it.
Yeah,
Maybe I should
yeah.
move down to Tampa.
I know, right? Everybody, let Dave know if you want to move down to Tampa. I'm pretty sure we can get him Tom Brady's old house over there.
I don't think so.
That's not too far from here.
No.
Yeah.
It's great weather and good fishing.
All right. So be humble. Hello.
I've
Hello
been on
from
a couple.
Jacksonville.
Well,
Hear you good. All right. Working. All right. It's going through. Yes, it's working. I saw something. Somebody said something. Okay, here we go. Hello from Riverview, Mr. Morales. I'm right over in Apollo Beach, right across the interstate there. Stanley, been helpful. Okay. Welcome back. All right, all right. Somebody said Riverside, California. Mic is working.
awesome.
How do y'all like these mics? Do they make a voice sound like a DJ? All right, here we go. Is this for you or for me?
It's for you.
Hello, Dwayne. I have an HLR submitted about 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard from the VA. Isn't someone supposed to contact me and ask why I want an HLR? Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. So, yeah, right. That is a nugget. Phil, you have to watch my video where I'm telling you or showing you how to go to that link and schedule your own informal conference. The first time I did that video, miraculously or mysteriously, 2 days later, it wasn't working.
You got too many calls.
It wasn't working. And then somebody said, "Hey, Dwayne, that link is working again. Can you do another video?" I was like, "Wait a minute, let me go
That's
walk
awesome.
through this." So I did the video. So with that, if they decide to cancel, a lot of people have been saying, "Hey, they cancel me. Go back and reschedule it." Now, you need to call 800-827-1000 before you schedule that informal conference. Make sure that 0996 is on file of record. Once they tell you, yep, it's on record in VBMS, then you watch their video, go to their link, and you're good to go.
That's awesome.
Okay, part one. Thanks for educating me. I won my HLR for an increased rating. There it is. There it is. Bilateral foot drop. Okay, 40% individual rating for left and right. I was granted loss of you. Okay, Timothy, I think you probably left me a comment on one of my videos. He was talking about foot drop, and I'm like, hey, you have to go into that 38 CFR and look at the VA's definition.
Right.
You know, I'm not a medical provider, and it's about, you know, when you talk about evidence, just like, you know, you're applying for a home loan.
Yep.
If they say a W-2, they didn't ask you for your W-4. They
Right.
asked for a W-2. You have to have that information. As long as you have the information, the VA's definition of it, you know, it's going to be hard for them to say no.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Dwayne, that I think that's one of the most frustrating pieces for veterans, both on disability and housing, is getting all the documents how they want it, not how you necessarily think it should be. There's
Right.
just a lot of factors that go into it. So the better the information, the better the paperwork that's stacked how they want it, the easier it goes through. And it's also less resistance on, let's say, the person that's giving the ratings. If they can clearly see everything, it's a lot easier for them to be like, oh, I can clearly see how this is all connected because you laid it out. Same thing with processing and underwriting, right?
Right.
When you submit all your documents, it's a lot less painful to be able to go through the whole process.
And, you know, a lot of people, when I read it, that's what I liked. I could tell when a veteran was educated.
Yeah.
Because they would have it laid out. And I'm like, oh, yes. Because I know that will help me better serve the veteran to potentially probably get them a grant, opposed to me going and sifting through a lot of stuff and I can miss it. And a lot of people try to hold VA employees accountable. And I'm like, if you send me 5,000 pages of documents, it's like, you know, when you close. I closed on my first house. Yeah, when I closed on my first house, all the thing I want to do is just go somewhere and take a nap for a whole week. Because I was like, man, it made me feel like going through maps again. Remember I say,
buddy.
Go to this page, sign here. You just sign it. Initial here, initial, you know.
Next thing you know, you're in the military.
If you send me some like 5,000 pages, it could be missed.
And you can't really search it that easy either.
Well, now everything's electronic.
Okay.
And so it's PDF. But if it's like the old medical records where it was handwritten,
you can't pick it up. Yeah.
You know, so again, that's where it comes in, like you said. And when you're going through, just lay it out for them, you know. But you'll get people like, oh, the VA's supposed to do this. Well, people are supposed to do a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I take care of the outside, you take care of the inside. Who told you that? Who told you that? I'm like, okay, all right. All right, so hey, we got a lot of VA questions. Let's make sure we get some questions in here about VA home loans. How would I get a rating change from 100% to permanent total? Okay, you don't want to change the 100% part. You don't want to change that part. What you have is a routine future, RFE. So you could be 100%, and what the VA has said, one of your conditions is not static or multiple. And they feel that it's going to improve. Now, as a rater, I used to hate RFEs. Hate them. I'm not a medical professional.
Right.
How can I say that your condition is going to improve? I can't. One, I'm not a medical professional. Two, and I'm not treating you. Right?
Right.
So I have a video, thus the name. I got a video, and actually I got two, talking about routine future examinations. So that's where you have to go watch that video, because I'm giving you the verbiage that's in the rating decision, what to look for to determine if you have a routine future. So what does that mean? You're 100%, but if you're not permanent total, now you don't get the tax exemption benefit. You don't get your student loan discharge, okay? Even though you're getting that 100% pay,
right?
But this is a good question. So one of the things that I've seen veterans do, they didn't wait on the VA to schedule that CMP exam for their routine future. They got a DBQ, a disability benefit questionnaire, from their own doctor, which shows either you stay at that current percentage or it goes up. But either way, you're going to stay 100%. And in that remark section of the DBQ, if it states, here's the nugget, here is the nugget, the condition is considered permanent, the rater is not supposed to put a routine future exam. So even if you're doing any DBQ, especially the mental, prognosis is guarded, meaning it's permanent. It's not going to change.
So who's the one that actually notes it? Is it
The examiner.
The examiner.
But you tell your examiner, say, hey, do you feel my condition is permanent? Yep. Can you put it on the DBQ?
Ah, gotcha.
That's the nugget. That's because when I'm granting 100%, and I'm like, oh man, I see that. It covers me.
I gotcha.
It allows me to go ahead because you have people at the VA, they love them routine futures. Now, if you have cancer, you have to put a routine future because the only way cancer can be 100% permanent total if it's terminal.
Oh,
right?
That's not good.
But but if it's other cancers, it can go into remission. Then you have to rate on what is called residuals.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
So definitely a good question. Okay, so had to increase the volume. So somebody else let us know the questions are kind of delayed. I'm trying to go down to the bottom to make sure that everybody can hear us, okay? So if you can't, just make sure you turn us up. What is that song like? Turn me up. Turn us up. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll throw the microphones a little closer.
What is the general time frame for receiving back pay for a CUE? There's no general time frame. I get that all the time. What is the general time frame? What is the no? No, it could happen this week or it can happen next week. But the biggest thing is, were you able to articulate that CUE? That's the question. Okay. Part 2, evidence of tropic changes, even though the examiner notes complete. Okay, so this is from the loss of use. The external nerve LOU is usually granted for a 40% individual rating under diagnostic code. Okay, so he's in the 38 CFR. He's in the rating schedule we're talking about. Okay, so when you say it's usually granted, don't really know that because we don't know what other percentages other veterans are getting for that. And so like you said, mild, moderate, severe. You see that in the 8,000 series, which is the nerves.
Right.
Is it mild, moderate, severe? You got the median nerve, you got the femoral nerve, you got the sciatic nerve in the lower extremities.
So actually, that's a good question. So when you file for your disability, do you want to be that specific, or do you say, my back is injured, and you leave it general, so then they have the ability to set it, or do you say I have this exact like code?
Okay, so if I was doing a claim right now, right,
Okay.
and I'm claiming, not loss of use, but something to do with neuropathy where the criteria is mild, moderate, severe.
Okay.
I would say I am claiming bilateral lower extremity, peripheral neuropathy, radiculopathy, secondary to my service-connected lumbar strain. My symptoms include moderate numbness, tingling. You could break it down because the reason why when you do that, let's just say when you go to the CMP exam, right? And you tell the examiner the same thing and they don't check those boxes. The rater can use your subjective lay statement in your personal statement to bump you up maybe from 20 to 40. But a lot of raters these days, they don't know that. They're going to go right off of that exam. And then the veteran is like, oh, I got to do a high-level review. Now, let's just say the examiner doesn't check those boxes and you feel you give you 20%, but you should be 40. And you worded it that way in the claim. I mean, in your personal statement.
Right.
That's an argument that you can make on a high-level review and say, hey, the rating activity, just did a video on that, could use my subjective evidence to give me the higher percentage.
So, and when you're at the appointment, can you ask them or specifically say, hey, like, I want Like I've submitted I want you to do this. Don't do that to you. But if you're saying
you ready to give it to me?
no, you might have to go down to that route. But if you submit your late state or like your statement to them, like, hey, I submitted my disability. These are my conditions. Because you can read the DBQs ahead of time. And
Right.
still veterans don't know this exists, by the way. Because I talk to them all the time. They're like, I have an exam tomorrow. What do you mean? What's a DBQ? I'm like, so that's not a good situation to be in. But I'm saying like, and I think you might have mentioned before, because I've watched videos on it. Like if you would bring a filled out DBQ you did yourself, to be like, hey, I went through this. I realized I was at this exam. I just want to make sure you had everything, because I know the exam was. I have 12 appointments in an hour.
Right. Yeah, you could do that, and it makes sense. And that's what I recommend to some people. I'm like, hey, just fill the DBQ out yourself, and just tell the examiner, hey, I'm gonna follow along, so what those symptoms are, and that's why, people should go to the rating scheduler to see what the criteria is, because that's what you're talking about on the CMP exam.
Right. And then does that have to correlate to like medical records as well? So
evidence, yeah.
Yeah. So the evidence, and then like having a doctor's note, prescriptions.
Yeah. Now, evidence years ago when I first started rating, it was 50-50.
Okay.
Now I would say 50-50. Now, yeah, you need to lay it all out, get evidence, go to the doctor. Yep, this hurts, it hurts right here on the outside, the top, and the side knee, all of that. Because like I was saying earlier, the training at the VA is different now. It's just like you were saying, you want to spell it out for them,
right.
And you got to do that same thing for the doctor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever seen someone submit it where they like do it timeline wise? Like if this document's according to this date and I've organized it the whole way.
And that worked. I did an interview with a Army officer, and she had a binder, and she was saying how she was watching my videos about high level review. And so I interviewed her, and she was explaining how she won, and she had this binder, and she was somewhere in New Jersey. Say she drove to Philadelphia RO, then she drove back to the Trenton, New Jersey RO, which is like 2.5, 3 hours the opposite way. But she knew, she was like, I felt I shouldn't have to do this, but she was like, I got to get it done. But she had everything lined out. So I would get service treatment records, and they would be the back in chronological order, the right knee, chronological order.
Oh, wow.
The left. And I can schedule an exam within 15 minutes opposed to somebody else not doing that. And now I'm in the file an hour, and if it's a lot of pages, I can miss something. So it goes back to what you were saying earlier. I know what veterans are going to say, oh, I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. You're right, you shouldn't. But once, if your goal is 100% permanent total, you got to fight for it. You got to, do it. And once it's done, that's it.
Yep.
And I tell people, when it comes tax time, you don't have the same energy with the IRS, do you? They tell you need this particular form, you're going to go get that form. So why is it any different with the VA?
Right.
I serve too. I don't think I should have to be, I shouldn't have to pay taxes.
Right.
I think Jerry on Dodge down the street should give me that Dodge Charger for half price because I serve, right? But it doesn't work like that.
Right.
So Dave, before we get to the next question, because we spent a lot of time on the VA, what else besides that interest rate have you seen going on with, maybe the feds or just something? So watch outs for VA home loans or anything of that nature.
Yeah. So definitely we're coming into the fall season, right? So normally things slow down. Kids are going back to school, and we don't see as much activity happening right now. And also, this has a large effect overall, unless you're in Tampa, because Florida, right? Because everyone wants to leave the cold and come to somewhere warm, right? So those markets are shifted a little bit, but still, with interest rates where they are, it's still people believe that they should still be lower, and that home values are overpriced. And it is a common theme. And I'll tell you that there's still an average about 25,000 people buying, veterans using the VA home loan in some fashion, right? Either purchasing, refinancing, doing cash out. And it just shows you that it's very prevalent to use the VA home loan. And if you're in a position where today you can afford to buy a home, and this is something that you desire to do, waiting isn't going to solve anything. Right. And again, to get back to the 2020, 2021, where the Fed is buying up the bonds, their rates are extremely low. It would have to be another catastrophic event that would happen, right? And for home values to drop, to be realistic, what would cause that? It would have to be a major economic shift, meaning that people, including the people waiting for the prices to drop, may be unemployed and may not be able to buy homes during that time. Rates, they fluctuate all the time, right? So that's why you have programs like the interest rate reduction refinance loan, where you can take advantage when rates are dropping to refinance into a lower rate and not have to go through like a whole appraisal process. They reduce the paperwork.
Right.
Because if you think all the people that prior to 2020, 2021 that owned homes, they reap the benefits of those rates because they already own the homes. And then when they own the homes, people were purchasing homes at a very high rate and also at a much higher price. So they benefit from all of that equity. So today they're sitting on a lot more equity than they did before, and they have lower rates. And so that's always the question. I look at it myself, like I bought not too long ago, and the reason I bought is because we wanted stability. We wanted a home. We wanted to make it our own. We didn't want anyone telling us what to do. And shifting schools for the kids, that brought stability, and I knew at that time I could afford it, right? And that's what was the driver of it, not waiting, because otherwise, like when I closed that day, rates dropped 0.5% from what I had, and I do this I can't predict. There's only so much you can control. So I tell people, control what you can, right? Don't try to control outside factors. Like I want rates to be 4%. If that's what you're waiting for, home values are going to continue going up, and you're just going to continue to buy further.
Right.
So it's like, it's the same thing like finding disabilities. Like I'm going to do it one day, but the longer you wait, the more rules change and the harder it becomes, right? So it's the same mentality, but I mean, there's life events that happen, right, for veterans, and I talk to a lot of people, which thank you everyone that reaches out, because life is life, right?
Yeah.
You go through divorce, you may go through a bankruptcy, you may go through some credit issues, but at the end of the day, you can overcome anything, right? If you served in the military, that you can overcome anything to do whatever you want in life, but to just get over that hurdle, I think for a lot of people where they self-deny, or in your case, people, and I understand it, would be like, I'm okay. I don't need the VA.
Right.
And then you're like, well, you would help yourself a lot if you seek care. And so I talked to a veteran, again, served myself. So I talked to a lot of people, and, if they get the right care, it changes their life.
Yeah.
And the same thing with home ownership. I talk to people that cry at closings because they're like, I didn't realize I can do this. I didn't even know I had the opportunity to do it. Just even with like 100% disability, where, we'll help vets save themselves from themselves, where they're like, hey, I was going to move to a state. I didn't realize I couldn't get property tax waiver, and I was counting on that because of the price point of properties, or because we're on a fixed income. We're trying to save as much money as possible. And no matter what branch, what age you are, right? Finances are very important to people.
Right.
So.
You brought up a good point. I was talking to a widow last week, and she said her husband just passed away. And she was like, I heard I could get some type of benefits. And I was like, oh, yeah, did he pass away from a service-connected condition? And she said, what do you mean? And I already knew right there and then. He never applied for benefits. And one thing that I tell veterans, especially our older veterans that, still, we're in that Vietnam era, there's still some around, plenty.
Yeah.
Apply for your benefits. Get them. Because if you're married, now they could possibly be entitled to DIC. Like you said, treatment. You get to a certain level, you can go to the VA, apply for Champ VA, maybe, your family. She was like, now I got to figure out how I'm going to live this Social Security. I might have to sell the house and move in with one of my kids. So if the veteran had a VA, used their VA home loan, right?
Right.
They would say, for instance, they were 100% permanent total. Now they don't have their taxes on the home. They can transfer that to the spouse, right?
Yeah, for qualifying spouse, yeah. But see, like, there's this open set up because some people don't want to get married, and then they ended up not being able to pass on any benefits at all.
Yeah.
I've had crazy situations arise in situations like that. Yeah, we had a lady come by. I was doing like we had like a table at a resource fair. This lady came in. Her husband passed away from a service-connected disability 8 years ago. Was exempt from paying property taxes. She never even knew she had the indemnity compensation. So from that meeting, there was a rep from the VA that was able to actually connect her with the proper people to help get the ball rolling on the compensation. And then she was able to gather all the paperwork for the county to get the tax exemption. And then remember, I know we've talked about this before, every county is extremely different when it comes to how your tax exemptions apply. Some counties are in arrears, some are paid current.
Yep.
And then you can also, if you've already owned a home and you have a back date on your disability, then you must have owned the home at that time. You can get a back pay. So like those are all relevant things because it's again a lot of money, especially if you're older. If you're fixed income, you count every penny.
Right. But that could be a huge savings if the vet had the 100% permanent total.
Oh yeah.
If he passed away from a service-connected condition, then the wife could get maybe some DIC, $1,500, $1,800
plus the VA loan.
Yeah, no tax, no taxes, so that lowers the mortgage. But even still, if the veteran would have had that, let's say for 15, 20 years, they would have been paying down the home, possibly already paid for the home.
Yeah, and well, that's what a lot of veterans do actually, Dwayne. So a lot of people will look at their housing budgets because everyone has different situations, right? Some people just have the 100% PNT, maybe it's 100% plus Social Security, maybe plus pension. Everyone's situation is different. Veterans that have 100%, let's say, a lot of time, or disability ratings, they try to keep their mortgage payment at their rating if they have another job.
Yeah.
So that way they always know that the mortgage payment's covered. And then that way, like if they fall on hard times, we have some money saved up, but our disability can cover our basic bills, right?
Exactly.
Maybe cover, especially if you're at 100 and you do things right. I did a whole video on how to purchase a property with 100% disability. Like you can go from obviously a lot of disclaimers to all this stuff, right? But it all depends on your financial situation and for educational purposes, right? You can go from 400 to $1 million if you're buying a multifamily and everything is lined up. Like it's possible. I mean, I think veteran, never be jaded with the system,
right?
Because if you don't take control, it's the same thing. If you don't empower yourself to do all the paperwork ahead of time, submit everything the right way, go through those 5,000. When you look at that 5,000 pages and you're like, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
What do you think somebody else is going to do? They're going to be like, they don't pay me enough to do this.
Right.
Just like you're saying it to yourself, right? But this is money for you, so.
Because I ask people, my book is like 50 pages or something like that.
Your book?
Yeah, it's not that much.
No, the book is small. The letters are big.
And then people will be like, I skim through it.
It's not much.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to some of these questions.
Yeah.
And everybody, we apologize. We're doing this in person for the first time. So we're trying to get through some of these questions, okay? Let's see.
Was there some questions?
My above sleep apnea question is in reference to my lay statement. I can't remember that question, Justin. I do apologize. Oh, so Justin, real quick, if you're service connected for sleep apnea, say for instance at 0%, and now you have a CPAP, that's simple. I'm claiming an increase in my service connected sleep apnea. Since my last CMP exam, I now have been prescribed the CPAP or a breathing airway device, I think they another word for it. Please see my attached prescription from a local VA medical center showing I've been prescribed a CPAP machine. That's it.
See, when you're filing for an increase?
Yeah, because that's the 50% criteria.
But didn't they change that?
Not yet. They say April 2025.
And then people are going to wait till April 2025.
No, somebody asked me, they was like, well, can I wait till March? Yeah, you can, but the VA is tricky. So they say a projected April 2025, and that didn't come from the VA. It came from another federal website. So it comes out, say for instance, it comes out in April 2025, and people ask me, what's going to happen? Are they going to do this? There's no instructions. No. We don't know when it is. What they're going to do? They could come out in April and say, the change is going to affect February 1st. Now you just waited. So I've been telling people, do it now.
What are you
waiting on?
Why are people waiting?
Oh, my kid's got a soccer game. Oh, my kid's on spring break. Look, you better tell that kid, look, we're going to spring break next week. I got to get this information.
Because it changes your life. It's just like home ownership. It's if you don't want to budget and you don't want to save money, most of the time people can afford right to be homeowners. They choose not to. Right. And the same thing here.
I got a lot of hate mail behind that video. I'm like, hey, check this out. And they was like, you're threatening veterans, you're fear mongering. I'm like, look, you can not do this if you want to, but they gave us a 2-year heads up 2 years ago, saying these are the proposed changes. And we just kind of went on with our lives, and then boom, came across something, and then they given us like another year. So you can play chicken if you want to with them.
But my whole thing is what is the point? Like it's not fear mongering. It's that if you have the condition, go
and
do it.
Right.
Because
it could take
simple.
2 or 3 months. It could take 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
somebody said, what's the average wait time? There's no average wait time. Just do it right now. So if they deny it, you're giving yourself time for an appeal, because they could say all the claims as of this date. If you do get service connected, we can rate you under the old rating criteria. But we don't know what instructions they're going to give us. That you don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like
crazy.
You said about the when you bought your home, and then rates dropped. You didn't know. No. Right. So I don't know. I don't know what the instructions are.
I mean, I ask you a question on that sleep apnea. Do you recommend the in-study or the take-home test or the?
It probably clinic. each his own. I did the in-house study, years ago, over 10 years ago at least. I don't even think they were doing a home study, but I don't know the difference. The home study at home, I don't.
Because I heard the home study ones are just not as accurate because they just go on your finger. Because otherwise they strap you in everywhere.
Yeah, they had this thing on the nose. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you want, I would say.
Yeah. Part 3, I just saw my podiatrist, and she completed a DBQ and checked my functions. It's so diminished that amputation with prosthesis would equally serve the veteran. You know what? Timothy's been in that 38 CFR. He's speaking VA claim language, and that is one of the things that they say about a limb, if it's served the same purpose as a prosthesis, basically saying you have no function. So if you would amputate it from the knee down, it would be the same as not having it at all. So you have it, but you have so much of a loss of use, it would be the same as if they amputated like it wasn't even there. It serves no purpose other than cosmetic. You still have that limb.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So I can tell Timothy has been in the 38 CFR. And it looks like we're looking up. We're actually looking at the TV behind us, people. So I'm like, man, what are they doing? Because every time they're looking up, look it up. All right.
The questions are up on the screen.
Yeah. On dependents, I want to add my common law in a non-common law state. We're talking federal. We're not talking about state. So I would have somebody ask me this too, and I still have to go to the M21 manual reference if you can add common law. I have to look that up in the M21-1. I would say no. I never saw it, but again, things change. A lot of things changed when the federal law changed when they said, in the LGBT community, I think I said that right, where, same-sex marriages, that is covered in the M21-1. But I don't know if they updated based on common law. So I would have to check that out, Stanley.
That's a good question.
Okay, Aaron works. See, he know what Sizzlers is. Dave and I going to Sizzlers after this. We're going to Sizzlers. We're going to the upgraded Sizzlers. Yeah. All right. Can PTSD PTSD be claimed through said as a disability. I'm not understanding that. You understand that?
Like if you have PTSD, can you claim Social Security, SSD, maybe SSDI?
Yeah, those are two separate things. I didn't do a video. I interviewed a lady here in Tampa a couple of years ago. During our conversations, she was saying a lot of veterans, they always ask me, can I use when I'm service connected for my VA information before the judge? And she's certified to represent people like lawyers
Okay.
on SS Social Security claims. And she was like, no, it doesn't. Judges don't look at that. Like, look at your VA stuff. I was shocked because I'm like, it's evidence. So especially a CMP exam, it's an exam.
Right.
Exam is an exam from a medical doctor. So she broke it down, but I did I interviewed her. So it's a video on my channel, but that was a couple of years ago. I don't know if they changed it. I was like, that doesn't make sense. If I'm showing you an exam for a back condition that I'm saying that's preventing me from working and I'm service connected for it, and it just eventually progressed and got worse, that's evidence. Why wouldn't you want to see it? But I'm not the judge. I'm not the judge.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Social Security disability income even works.
That's another beast.
That's a whole
in
other
itself.
channel.
Yeah. Man. Trying to go from 30 to 50. Okay. So yeah, sleep apnea. If you have a CPAP machine, Justin, that's what's needed. You got to say, I've been prescribed a CPAP machine, but make sure you put that intent to file in. But if you have it, you can just do 526EZ for an increase, and they go from day to claim. But if you got to go out and get it,
Agreed.
I'm 80%. I'm paying for Nexus letter, DBQ for apnea fatigue and chronic fatigue and apnea and migraines. I want to get to 100%. I'll just schedule a call with you. Okay. So I no longer do, Jake, thank you for the donation. Definitely appreciate it. I no longer do consultations. I was doing the free 15-minute consultations. Those consultations turned into 30, 40, 45 minutes because people were like, let me just tell you my story. And a lot of time, that's not enough information for me to determine how I can educate you.
Right.
So we do live webinars now. Jay, the webinars are free. But in the webinars, I explain what it is I do, but most importantly, what it is I don't do. Okay. So a lot of people think, oh, I need you to file my claim. I need you to represent me. I don't do that. I'm not filling out your paperwork. I'm not submitting to the VA, and I'm not representing you. That's something I chose not to do when I left the VA because I knew I wouldn't be able to educate veterans. If you're representing veterans and you got 50 clients, you're not going to be able to educate them. You're not going to be able to sit down and explain the 38 CFR, the M21 manual reference. Because if you represent somebody and they say, oh, what is the normal wait time? And you have 50 veterans that you're representing, you might get 10 calls all week. What's the status of my claim? What's the status of my claim?
I understand.
And it's like...
Well, plus, isn't the relationship a bit different? Because when you're like a VSO, you're not like walking, like experience, right? They're not sitting there like, hey, let's look through all your documents. Let's get you. Some are.
Yeah.
Where are those people?
Probably the ones that working for smaller organizations.
Okay.
Because I get told all the time, I've been calling my VSO for the past 2 or 3 months and they haven't called me back.
Yeah.
They probably working with 60 other veterans. And then they have training that they do. And when I worked in the regional office, they would shut the door. They wouldn't talk to us.
No, that's not good.
And I'm the raider coming down here. I'm like, hey, I got your veteran. I think I can service connect. We're closed. We got training. And I'm like,
Dang.
So now I'm left with the evidence. And back when they had paper files, I would leave it on my desk. And my supervisor, hey, when they start asking, hey, what's status? I'm trying to get a hold of VSO. I'm trying to get a hold of a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Hey, we gotta go. So the smaller VSOs, I think have time to do that don't have a lot of VSOs veterans that are representing them. But you get with a big VSO organization, I think you probably run into some issues. Not saying that they don't want to work with the veteran.
You just have a lot of people.
They got their backlog of veterans.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get them on the phone, then the veteran want to talk to you for like an hour. Because they've been trying to get a hold of you for 2 months, and you're like, hey, I got to get to the next veteran.
Yeah, I've heard obviously mixed stories out there, right? Some are really positive. So it's just, it's like vetting the person you're working with is really.
And before we move on, I want, a lot of people have a misconception. And I don't really talk about this. I've done some videos on it where I talk about should you have a VSO or shouldn't you? A lot of people think just because the individual is accredited, they know everything. I've had VSOs tell me I didn't know what the hell I don't know if I'm supposed to curse, but they told me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
And I just say, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's funny,
okay.
Dwayne, because on my end, when I talk to people, they'll be like, David, everything you've told me is 90% the exact opposite of other people. And I'm just like,
other people.
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I understand it, but what we have to look at is the VA handbook, right? So like just like you have your Bible, I have mine as well for the VA handbook, where you have that plus circulars, right? So they don't keep everything in one, because like if you didn't read the update to the update, then you will then be thinking one thing, and which leads to a lot of frustration, right? So that's why I think for us, we operate in a different mindset, is that you have to know both the information that's at the handbook, or in your case, in yours, and then all the updates, and then how is it actually applied, right? That's you can read all day long, but if you don't understand how to apply that information in the real world, then that's where the frustration, the disconnect happens. And then people complain, and then you're just like, wait a second, what did you say? And you're like, wait a second, but if you just move this piece to that, and then say this, and based on your records, you've connected it.
Right.
And then that's I think that, I mean, I again, talked to a lot of people about this.
So, going back to this whole accreditation thing, I get comments from VSOs. They were like, hey, I really like your video. Can you explain? Or they'll say, hey, can I call you? I'm like, okay. I'm
Here
like,
we
okay.
go.
Or we'll do a Zoom. I just did a Zoom with a VSO, and she was like, hey, I have this veteran I'm representing, and I'm trying to figure it out. And we were on Zoom for like 45 minutes. I was like, hey, I got to get on another Zoom call. But it even kind of stumbled me. And I was like, wait a minute, I got to get into 38 CFR and M21-1. So a lot of people think, oh man, you hate VSOs. I don't hate VSOs. I think a lot of VSOs are overworked. The caseload is too huge. And when a veteran finds a really good VSO, guess what they do? They go tell all their buddies. They call it VSO. Now that VSO gets burnt out.
Right.
I understand it. And so the VSO, she was like, man, I really appreciate you took the time. And I'm like, at the end of the day, the common denominator is we got to work together to get the veterans to where they want to be. Bottom line, now can I talk to all VSOs?
No.
I cannot. But this one, I don't know. It just kind of, she explained some stuff and I'm just like, whoa. I got like 4 or 5 questions. I'm like, here's a Zoom link. I'm available right now. She was like,
that's awesome though.
All right. Now, you know who this is, don't you, David?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know. Because he's like,
what's up, man?
You're not going to let me live. See, there you go. Hey, man, y'all getting fancy on me today. Where's my invite?
Yeah.
Hey, well, we had contractors in the house. So, Twisted, we had to go in person because remember we did that live? He was the last one. He's talking about, can you answer my question? I had contractors.
12-hour event?
Contractors in his house for 12 hours. Okay, Twisted. But that's it. So you're trying to get all fancy, huh? Atlanta was, Atlanta was rough. All right, so VA discontinued. My high school grad in June, I got you, is now full-time college student of August. How long does it take to add him back to my compensation, and will they back pay me? I'm still supporting him. Yes. So there's no general time frame, but I will say this about adding dependents. That is not a VA priority. So when I do my webinar, I show the compensation rate table. And it's 10, 20, all the way to 100. And I tell people you have to be 30% to add your dependents. So if you're at 0, 10, or 20, and you're going in for new claims, you might want to submit that dependent form at the same time, because that VSR has to adjudicate that claim to add the dependents at that time. You can do it later, and as long as you're within a year, they'll backdate you, but it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, and what if it get lost in the system?
So is there actually, if your child once they're 18, they automatically get kicked off your...
They automatically, and guess what? They told Dana that in her notification letter.
But then how do you not tell them, like, yo, hey, like, excuse me.
They're not going to get him.
Excuse me, I saw my son. Excuse me, what are you doing? People are always like, why is he saying excuse me? I'm like, excuse me, like, I still pay for him. He's still mooching. Can I keep him?
Yeah. What do you, like Kevin Hart say, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You know, so that's a good point, Dana. So you could go back and add him. Just make sure you have documentation that he's enrolled in school. And the best way to do those is online. I know back when they had e-benefits, they were doing them like 24, 30, I mean, within a week, they were adding them, you know. But now, since e-benefits is gone, I don't know if it's faster or slower right now.
When they get rid of it?
Oh, wow. They kind of phased it out last year. They started phasing
Oh, no, it's quick.
Yeah.
I mean, to add dependents on.
Oh, you're talking about add dependents on
and the
e-benefits.
dependent is pretty easy.
It's easy, but you can go in there and do it. But when they're going to take action with it, that's another story. You know,
you can always call and complain to them if you got time every hour.
Yeah, yeah. I would do a VA White House hotline complaint. You know,
Yeah.
Dito Girl. How is it
Hey,
that
what's up?
Dito Girl and Twisted, they must tag team. Like
They must.
Twisted, you answer your question first, and then I'm gonna go right next because they always like neck and neck. What's happening, fellas from San Antonio? Should I pursue TDIU to get me to 100%? You should call David and get that property you and your husband trying to get over there in Louisiana. I remember that. TDIU. Whew. How much time we got?
we got some time, but it's a good question because you know what? I do get this. People confuse, just a side note, that if you have 100% or 100% PNT, I hear veterans say, I can't work.
Ooh.
And
you know what I'm about to say, right?
Well,
I got an upcoming video on that, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it seemed like that's what they might believe based on whatever conditions that they may have, right? And I'm like, wait a second. No, that only applies to the 100% TDIU. And then you can make, I think, up to the poverty level an income.
There it is. There it is.
So you can make some extra.
So you can still work. You could 100% PNT, you can work. Okay. Yeah. TDIU is a different beast. Gainful employment, marginal employment, safe and protected environment, right? But you cannot make over the poverty threshold.
Yeah.
They have an amount for yearly with one individual plus spouse, one individual plus spouse, one dependent, two dependents. You can't go over that threshold, okay? But one thing about IU, it's hard to get. In my upcoming video, I'm talking about the nugget is how do you keep it if you decide to go back to work.
So,
if you decide to go back to work.
But another good question from this, because I always wondered this, is that if you have 100%, let's say you got the TDIU, you already have it. Can you go back and file on your disabilities to get it increased to 100% PNT while continuing to get TDIU?
Yes, because you're getting paid at the 100%. So nothing is going to change monthly wise other than you're able to go to Hollywood and be a stand-up, be a bag up for The Rock or something like that.
So what if they don't give you an increase? Do you keep your TDIU? Or then you have to reapply?
It depends. And that's where you got to know what you're doing.
I
And
don't.
that
That's
is-
why I'm asking.
That is a whole
Not
nother
on
conversation.
that.
Because I rated those cases because IU is not a standalone claim. IU is a claim for increase in the service-connected conditions that you state prevent you from gainful employment. And you all are going to hear this again in an upcoming video, okay? And so that's where a lot of veterans go wrong because they just file IU. They could be 70% for PTSD. They meet the scheduler criteria. So now the VA is saying, okay, you're saying you want to increase in your PTSD. What if that 70% has been in effect less than 5 years? You go to that CMP exam, it shows improvement, proposal to reduce, IU denied.
I see.
Or they can say, okay, the increase, we'll give you 100% and we'll make it P&T as long as it's guarded, and we'll grant you P&T. Now I think they still grant the IU. Back when I was rating, they would deny the IU and say it's mute because the 100% P&T is a greater benefit. Because the
It
only
is,
difference
right.
is you can work, both of them you can work, but one you can only make so much money. I've had veterans claims they're 100% P&T and they file a claim for IU. What? What? Whoa! And like Kevin Hart, look at this. Look at this.
So wait, can
Yes.
you deny? Can you get a reduction?
This is where a VSO it comes in handy. I will contact the VSO as a rater. I'm like, look, and the VSO be like, what? They did. Whoa. I said, look, it's okay. Send me a VA form 21-4138.
Canceling.
Telling us that the vets want to withdraw the claim. But
Dang.
Raiders are not doing that these days. They're like, oh, you want IU? Okay. And they go and do it. So you got to
Oh, it
understand.
downgrades it from the P&T?
They'll go ahead and they'll develop for the claim for IU. Because the training is different now. It doesn't happen in all
Oh,
cases. So that's where if it's a good RVSR and you got a VSO, call them, hey, you want to withdraw this?
Yeah. And to relate it to the housing piece, because a lot of people do have this question, is that you can qualify with full TDIU income at 100%. So
Right.
that's the positive part.
Because the payout is the same.
Right. So you still get that. The only challenge is that for the property tax breaks, you don't always get that with 100% TDIU, only 100% P&T. That's why it's so important to check the county and the state on what the requirements are.
But here in Florida, I think it asks, are you 100%, are you TDIU? But do you have the P&T?
Right.
Because you could be TDIU without, we call it Chapter 35.
Yeah.
And that's what some counties and some people at the county know what to ask for now.
Yeah, they've gotten smarter.
They're getting smarter.
Thanks to the internet. Just like you guys get smarter,
The AI,
they're getting smarter.
they're getting smarter too. All right, what we got here? Audio and video looks great. All right, appreciate it. See, we got our logos up here. We didn't talk about that.
We're trying new things out.
Yeah. Now, I want to eventually come to Chicago, but I can't come to Chicago between Labor Day and Memorial Day. It's just too cold. So next year, we'll figure it out. Well, you know what? My wife wants to go for Christmas, so we may do
A Christmas
I may suck it
special?
up. But see, I don't want to get stuck.
You're not gonna get stuck.
O'Hare shut down. Then they got Midway, but Midway got this short runway. They run off and run right into Cicero Avenue over there.
And they do run off the runways.
Yeah, I've been in
so
and out
it's
there
funny.
plenty of times.
It's not funny, but
so
yeah.
if we do it, we'll plan something. We'll
Yeah,
plan
we
something.
will.
We'll come up there because I want to stay downtown. Let her see the Magnificent Mile, Michigan Avenue and
Magnificent
stuff.
Mile. Yeah.
all
There's
that
a lot
stuff.
of stuff. It's pretty cool in the Christmas time.
And then she said, "I want you to take me over where you grew up." Really? All right. I need to be there, Dwayne. All right. Yeah. I tell you what, we're gonna go out and eat. If anybody's here in Tampa, maybe we might invite some people.
That might be
So if you're
scary.
in Tampa, let us know. So, who's that? Jose say he's in Riverview, not that far. Let us know. Okay, go Bucks. They lost, man. Denver blew them out yesterday, which I don't.
I was
really,
out fishing in the beautiful Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you got a little suntan and stuff.
Oh
You got
man,
everything?
lucky I didn't burn. I was
Yeah.
out there for 8 hours in this Tampa sun.
Okay, so how do I get an appointment with you? For me, it's webinars. You go to my website, you sign up for a webinar. I do about 4 or 5 a month. Those are free, and that's where I explain everything that I do and that I don't do. David, I put your contact information in the description section, and also if you're streaming from David's channel, in the description section as well.
So then you go to VA Housing Education on YouTube and check it out. Yeah, this time we have it a little bit different because we're in person, so we don't have both of our stuff up. But yeah, definitely you can check out on YouTube.
Okay. Yep. And we got to give thanks to our host, Armand. He let us use his spot. So definitely appreciate it. He's got all this cool gear. And he has a YouTube channel as well. And I cannot, for the life of me.
Isn't it his name?
Yeah. Well, that's his name, Armand. So Armand, I know you're listening. Let everybody know what your YouTube channel is and what you do. I found it kind of interesting. So when I came and checked out the spot, he was like, hey, this is what I do. And I was like, really? I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, good idea. So Armand, let us know what your YouTube channel is.
It's a good side business too. So people out there have, because I didn't realize this was even a thing, right? For all your entrepreneurs out there, that you set up a room, set up for audio, video, everything, and you can actually rent them out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a real thing people do.
Yeah, and I just found him online. I was like, hey, he was the first one that responded. And I came up here and checked it out, told you about it. I'm like, hey,
done deal.
Here we go. Yeah, cool spot. Okay, I got Service Connected for tonight. It's on Saturday. Congrats. I have a mental health CMP exam tomorrow. I live in Tampa. Oh.
Tampa.
Okay.
Good.
What are you doing tonight, TS?
What is the where do people? Where's the closest? Was it St. Pete regional office? Is that? Oh no, that's VA Home Loans. But where's the closest
from here?
VBA that they do all the ratings at?
Oh, that's St. Pete.
Oh, it's St. Pete.
Regional
Everything's
office,
up there.
St.
Okay.
Pete. Yeah. St. Pete. Okay, I was not granted loss of use. That what I'm arguing. Okay, not the. Okay, all right. So yeah, like you said, Dave, you got to go to that rating schedule.
Yep.
But the evidence, if you got a private doctor, say, look, doc, here's the evidence that the VA is looking for. Do I meet this criterion? So, here's a diagnostic code. Write it out.
Yep.
You can't get any clearer than that. All right, didn't answer my paid question. Y'all are jokes. Okay, we did, didn't we?
I think he's just messing around.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, what do you mean? I think we did. He had what he gave us. Okay, all right.
And they were asking for the VA's number.
What's the number again, please? 1-800-827-1000. I feel like that Empire commercial.
Oh, I know.
Call the commercial. 988.
I wonder if they're still around.
They are. I get the commercials down here all the time. Yeah. Now I remember watching them all the time on WGN in Chicago.
Yeah, me too.
Remember, did you watch that Bozo thing?
Yeah, I was wondering if they still have Bozo around.
I don't think so. He probably passed away. All right. Let's keep going. Is that you or me?
No, it might be like a service award.
Yeah. I think my phone is over there. Okay.
Hopefully the hurricane isn't coming early.
Ooh. I sent the VA copies of my STRs with injuries from VA. They acknowledge receipt, but decision letter states none. Okay. If you get a CMP exam, compensation pension exam, the rater didn't say no. 9 times out of 10, the CMP examiner said no. So if you got a CMP exam, the VA employee saw it, saw something, a link, and that's how you got the CMP exam. So then the doctor said no. So that's why it's important to get a copy of your claims folder. So you can see that CMP exam and see why that examiner said no. That's key. You got it. You got to have it.
What's that CD they send you when you request that has like everything, your whole life on it?
That's the claims folder. Claims file, claims folder, the disc. Yeah.
And you get it. You filed the Freedom of Information.
Yep. For your request.
For him.
Yep.
That's like the key because it literally has everything in there.
Full transparency.
And then you could be hating all day reading that.
Oh, you got this, you got that. Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
Watching from Michigan.
Yeah,
You think he's getting all that lake effect snow?
Not yet. Not yet. Because he texts me. He'll be like, "Is it snowing yet?"
Is it
Or
snowing? Where do you think he's at in Michigan? Holland, Michigan, Ann Arbor, Ben Harbor.
I was just up in Grayling, Michigan, by Traverse City. No, it's fly fishing capital. I fly fish, so
Okay.
it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Definitely different than fishing out out here.
Ocean
That's
is
for
just
sure.
different.
Yeah.
Getting watching from Michigan, the VA has a higher reviews for my knees to be connected to my back, which is at 40%, hips 10% each side. You know, you could have claimed bilateral knee condition secondary to your hips and your back, and they had to give you two opinions.
Right.
You know, a lot of veterans don't think about that. All right, what time? Where are we time at? You want to 5 more minutes?
Yeah, let's do 5 more minutes.
Okay. So let's get through. We're going to do some, I want to get to all of the,
Oh, sorry.
wait a minute. Is that what you were looking at?
Yeah.
David, it is better to use.
I thought, David, is better to use my VA loan on a house that was willed to me if it's not paid off yet. So, I mean, well, it's going to depend on just the financial picture, because sometimes if you're trying to, we always say you don't need to save your VA loan because it's an unlimited benefit. You can use it at any time. The trick sometimes is that if this is a house that's not your forever home, you're in a very specific situation where you have the house willed to you, then maybe it might make sense to maybe look at some other options to, potentially save that loan, especially if there's a lot of equity in the property. Then rates might be similar, right?
Right.
But if you're living in it, this is like your home. You're like, hey, I'm not planning to really use my VA loan down the line anytime soon. Then you might look at doing the VA loan versus the opposite. That's really going to be your financial specific situation kind of look on that.
I got somebody's VA Housing Education website, Dave.
Oh, VAHousingEducation.com.
Well, they're saying the courses doesn't work.
You know what? The courses have been taken down because we found that it's better to do like the YouTube videos and all the updates that we do them.
Okay.
And I'm going to be I did have a long course on there that I'm going to be actually breaking it down course-wise. And I'm just going to put it all on YouTube. So like before we'd be like, hey, sign up for this stuff. We say, you know what?
That's the membership? You're not going to do the membership?
Yeah, we're not going to do membership just because I think the information just needs to be out there. I just have to redo them. I need some time.
Yeah.
So
I do a membership, and so far so good. It works out, especially the live streams, and I do those by Zoom, and we do the block of instruction. That's what I like about it. I think one of the first ones I did was going over the pages 1 through 7 on the 526CZ and explaining it, and people were like, I didn't know that was there. I'm like, it's been there since February 2019. You gotta know this stuff, right?
there's always updates to this stuff.
Right. Do you have training for VSOs?
That could be a membership program.
People asked me this question before. Would you train somebody? It took me 24 months just to feel comfortable.
Oh, doing like the actual rating?
Yes, 24 months.
Yeah.
And that's training, initial training, about 9 months, monthly training, and annual training.
So wait, how long is it from the time you start? Like you start at the VA before you can do your first rating?
I started in June.
Okay.
I didn't do my first rating until like October. Now we had samples, mock
Yeah.
claims that we did, but it don't, when you open that real one, it's like Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until you get punched. And when you open that claim, it's like you got punched. I was like, oh snap! I'm like, it would be, because we went through that rating scheduler line by line by line.
For every single
Diagnostic code, yes. And they stopped along the way and explained things and videos. And that's why I'm saying the training is not the same. And I'm telling you, that time, you talking about stress.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information. But now I'm more comfortable because I'm always in the M21-1, the 38 CFR, and stuff like that. So did I do training? Nope. I've actually helped some VSOs get their accreditation. You know, just I helped them study. So they would have questions about, you know, hey, how do I know? Where do I go and find the date, the month, the date, and the year that diabetes was added to 38 CFR 3.309 subpart E? Oh, that's easy. And I can find it because guess what? Raiders get tested every 2 years. They tell you do not memorize the information, but know where to go and find it. And so I was like, yeah, that's like, I think, let me test myself. I think it's May 20th, 2001.
Dang.
I think so, either 2000, 2001, but definitely May.
That's awesome.
What are the maximum amount of this you did?
Yeah. What's the maximum number of apartment units 2 veterans living separately purchasing using their VA home loan guarantees? So if you do a joint home loan application with 2 veterans, technically, now I've never seen this done, is you can buy a 6-unit building with a commercial space. So they're different than regular. So regular VA home loan is like, hey, veteran by themselves purchasing on their own. Pretty straightforward. Veteran and a spouse, right? Not fiance. They can't even be on title, but they're always trying to get on there. So you have to be married, okay? Even on title, they can't be on there. They can't be on the contract. They got to be removed. But then it throws into this other category of VA home loans, what they're called a VA joint home loan application, where it's where a veteran and a non-veteran can purchase together. Then you're just looking at technically a 4-unit plus commercial space. But again, I've never seen the commercial space executed. I've always just seen 4 units. 12.5% down payment for the non-veteran because the VA guarantees 25% of the loan. Then when it comes to 2 veterans purchasing together, it's technically 4 units plus a unit per veteran plus a commercial space. Now, in theory, and again, I don't even know how this would work. If you had 3 or 4 veterans together, but you know, there's some crafty veterans out there. I throw that out there all the time. But they always scheme and trying to like, how can we make it? But again, I think there's other issues that come with that, like insurability of the product for secondary markets. How do you price out products like that? Appraisers that have the background to do that, because, you know, again, thousands of VA home loan transactions. I've never seen that completed on that specific, but it's possible, and then it's also in the VA handbook as an example.
Okay. All right, cool. Take a couple more here. Somebody said something about the book. The book is great and easy to read, understand, love it. Definitely appreciate it. And one thing about the book, there are some things in there that you can find online, and there are some things that you can't, because I pulled it from here.
Yeah, that's experience.
Right, exactly. So especially like the example wording, I didn't go too in depth in that. I think I should have probably went a little bit more. So if I were to do it again, I'd probably just do a whole chapter, maybe like 10 pages on just example wording. Like you were saying, how do you word it? Just give people some examples, because I think that's definitely key. So, because somebody asked me that, they say, hey, you know, some of that stuff is online. I'm like, have you read the book? No. So how do you know?
Well, another thing, I was at his house, and he actually signs the books. It's not a stamp, people. It's an authentic signature. I got mine in person, but I'm saying, like, I saw he was handwriting them, signing them. When I was at the house, he's like, I gotta get these books out. And he had like a stack of them. That was awesome.
I sent
upstairs.
I said, I'm sold out right now. I sent out like 50 today. Yeah. I got 1 order left, but I got Amazon getting real crazy when you go to KDP trying to order them. And they sent me, I ordered 50 books. They sent me 1 book.
And they charge you for 50.
Yeah, but and then the other 50 came late last night.
Oh, man.
So I got majority of them out, and then I got like 13 orders that's going to go out tomorrow. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
but it's an awesome read, because it's like there's so much information.
Yeah, so you get on a plane. It took me, I read it probably about 30 times when I was writing it. But then once the book came, I was like, let me just read and see how long it takes me. It took me, I read 30 minutes every morning before I get on the computer, and it took me 4 days. So 4
days can change your life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I mean,
And another good thing, yeah, some of the stuff is online, but you don't have to go look online because I condensed it.
yeah.
You know, because like you say, the VA handbook for home, I would hate to look at that thing.
Well, that's
I
the
would hate to see
problem.
it.
It's like, that's the one thing that I definitely like. You can't answer this stuff over text message. Sometimes people will try, and I'm like, listen, we're going to jump on a phone call. And then normally in 15 to 30 minutes, I could take someone researching months on end of information and be like, here you go, this is how it works. And they're like, wait a second, I didn't realize like that I can actually apply it this way because I keep reading different stuff online. So
Right.
it's like, don't deny yourself. Stop procrastinating on filing your disabilities. You know, get educated on this stuff, and we can help you out.
Yeah. So let's answer these two last questions, these
Yeah.
donations, Dave. Claim filed last year, July 2023, denied April 4th, 2024. All evidence wasn't reviewed. Did HLR, and the decision, June 24th, was duty to assist there. Decision granted. The effective date, 6/24, wrong date. That happens. That happens. Now, you can't do a VAHLR review on a VAHLR review.
No,
So what can you do? You could do a CUE on that.
I don't even know what that means. I'm not even going to pretend.
I got a video on it.
You
I
got
got
it?
a video on it, right? But yeah, and again, it goes back to this training, and you know, depending on effective dates, used to frustrate me because I would have a veteran have 3 intent to files, 3 526 EZs, and they did them right. Intent to file 526 EZ, intent to file 526 EZ, and get service connected for everything. Now you got to figure out what is that date. And that could be tricky, especially if you're looking through thousands of pages. That's, you know, so I can understand it, you know, because I've been through it. It kind of sucks, but
Yeah, I get it.
we got one more here. Okay, let's see. Cheddar Roman, do you think Trump 25 will hurt vets? I'm kind of glad he asked that question. I did a video where I talked about Project 25, and I might do another live stream because I want people to come on. They had a lot of negative stuff to say because in that video I said, this is not political, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's not independent. You know, people were asking me about it because they're saying a compensation was going to be taken. I'm like, well, send me the link. You know, I want to see it.
Right.
So it took about 2 weeks. I went through it. Not everything. It was a lot. But I just found the VBA part. And the VBA part, they were just, whoever wrote it was giving their suggestions. So I was like, oh, I agree with that. Oh, I don't agree with that.
Right.
But it had nothing to do with any political opponent. You know, they were just saying the VA should do this. And I'm like, I disagree with that because I worked in that system. And with the current management, I don't think that's going to work.
Right.
Or they'll say, oh, they should do this. I'm like, oh, I could see how that would work. But people took that as a chance to insert their political agenda opinion. I'm like, I can't remember who wrote it. I think it was 2 or 3 people who had their name on it. But I looked at the VBA part because they were like, they want to take our compensation. I'm like, oh, well, I haven't heard about that. And I didn't see anybody else doing it, but I didn't see that piece. So I was asking people, what section does it say that? Oh, somebody I heard, and I got a video on that too. They say it. They say it this, they say, and I'm like, no. So from what I could read, I think, let me say, what I saw in there, I don't, you know, some of the suggestions, I'm going to stand on what I say in the video, I agree with just because of my experience inside the VA. I think there needs to be an overhaul in management. And in that video, I said, I feel that the VA secretary, he doesn't have his thumb on the pulse of the workers, the ones that are actually doing the work. And management is giving him some bad data. Morale is great. No, it's not. No, it's not. And they have to overhaul some of that management. They have to. They're getting bonuses for failing veterans. You know,
you're talking about that $4 billion? Or
yeah. 10 billion or something like 10 million or something like that. No, But then he got to go before Congress and be like, hey, we took it back. Well, they never should have got it in the first place, you know. But
that's
he's not,
how it's all structured.
yeah. So, yeah, again, I don't, you know, from what I could see in there, it's just suggestions. You know, you got to wait on the VA secretary. I don't know if he even addressed that or not. But yeah, people were like, oh, political this and that. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't say either way. You know, it was just, and then somebody asked me a question. I'm like, you didn't even look at the video.
No.
I was like, you know, you got to be careful.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the part, like, what could be good for veterans? Housing, right?
Right.
They always try to everyone puts their own spin on it. So, but again, this is why you educate yourself on what is currently happening.
Right.
Because, like, I think it would be crazy. Get me wrong. I think it would be catastrophic if they took that benefit away from already being. If they
Right.
took it out from there moving forward, people that already have it.
Right.
Like, what did they? Like, I think it would disrupt the country.
Right. You know, the previous administration, they were like, oh, we can save money and not pay the veterans any compensation. Take that money and put it into the VA healthcare. You had veterans that was Democrat, Republican, and they all came together. Woo! I was like, and they shut that down quick. And I guess somebody said, you all don't want that smoke. You get, it's 18 million veterans, and they all gonna come together for one common goal.
Oh yeah.
And that died real quick. They were
That's
like,
what we're like. Let's come together.
Nope, they were like, I was like, whoa. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We went a little bit longer tonight because we were doing this in person, so we were, you know, getting things set up. Sorry we didn't get through all your questions, but I don't think we really ever get through all the questions.
Once.
The 12 hour.
12 hours is the only time we got through all the questions. But we do these every month. If you guys have questions, you guys check out my channel too, VA Housing Education.
Yeah, and it's growing too, right? It's
growing.
Picking, picking up some steam.
It's moving along. But I mean, that's thanks to people watching and just getting information out because, you know, it's not only do you help yourself when you do this, right? Because I think it's a lot of times it's what you do in the military is you look out for your buddies, right? Because they come to you, like I'm able to pass down, thanks to you watching the videos, doing these doing these live streams that we do. I'm always picking up nuggets. So then I pass that on to people that I talk to. Like and that today has been almost every single person I talk to. I'm like, oh, have you filed your disability? I'm like, because I always ask, right? Because they don't have to pay a VA funding fee. I'm like, do you have a service connected? They're like, yeah, I only have a 10%. Like, but I have all these other documents. The VA told me that, you know, whatever. And I'm like, well, you can go back and refile. And then they're like, well, I heard it's a Like, listen, if it's worth it, and yeah, sometimes it can be painful, you want to be able to do it. So I always pass down information I learn, and that's the point of what we do these, because you may not be at that stage where, hey, I'm buying a house today, but you have, everyone's talking about real estate too high, blank, or too low, or hey, I'm ready. We're at that phase. We're selling a condo. We want to buy a home. We're moving across the country. Well, that we can help. And the same thing with disability, because people will be like you said, like you'll say one thing, someone that contradicts them. You're like, well, at least you have a resource to go to. Right.
So we didn't get to how many likes we had, but make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you check out David's YouTube channel, VA Housing Education, and you know, I can't piggyback off of what you said. It's just thank you to all of you out there subscribing to our channels. I tell people, hey, make a small investment in the book. I got a coupon code TDH15. Watch the videos. You don't even have to call me. It's just, you know, it's free videos, and come into the live streams. Get a couple of, you know, if you get stuck, and I know you do lives, and I tell people, if you're not able to make the live, make sure you subscribe to your channel, my channel. You get notified. Put your question up there first. And if you can't make it, then you can always go back and watch it, and we'll answer that question first.
That is smart, because sometimes I see people throwing in questions before the thing starts, and then it's like, well, then your questions are going to be answered.
And I got that. It was a guy, he used a nickname Snowman. He's like, hey, Dwayne, can you ask my question? I'm at work. I won't be able to watch it. I'll go back and watch it. I was like, oh, and I just remember his handle. His name was Snowman. That was his handle.
That's awesome. That's
All right. So everyone, thank you. We're live here in Tampa. I didn't see anybody saying, hey, where you guys going to eat? You could have came out and met us in person. Okay. All right. Take care. If you still want to come out, give me a call, 855-765-3137. Okay? If I pick up, I'll let you know where we at. Hang out with us. All right? Take care, everybody.
Yeah.